Our episode today is titled, There Might Be Blood. And, Kay, I do not understand that at all.
And I know why you don't understand that, because you know there's a movie titled There Will Be Blood.
Yes, but in my brain that's a vampire movie.
No, it's a big bummer period piece about oil prospecting.
What?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano, who, I mean, full disclosure, great actors. The movie's a huge bummer. I made the mistake of watching it. My husband wanted to watch it. I don't think he thought it was as big a bummer as I did, but I was just unhappy the whole time. The whole time.
I feel like if the movie is called There Will Be Blood, it's either a vampire movie or it's Inigo Montoya being really angry at the six-fingered man. Blood will be shed tonight.
Crazy people and greedy people and people who are both. It's just a lot. So you're not missing much, but that's why it's all about oil and finding oil, and yeah.
That makes sense because this episode is about that. It's not about blood or vampires. I guess I will just have to take your word for it and never watch that movie because that's kind of my plan anyway.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Shall we start the episode?
It's showtime.
This is
To the Blueberry!
I am Alexis, and I'm a real-life Gus.
I'm Kaylee, and I'm a real-life Sean.
And as we said, this is To the Blueberry, a Psych Rewatch podcast, where today we are rewatching Season 3, Episode 6, There Might Be Blood.
Yes, and as we so often do, we start off with a flashback to 1987.
And oh my gosh, Lil Gus is back.
I can never be sure how many times they've recast this child, because we have episodes without a Gus, and then another Gus shows up, and I'm not fresh enough to know the difference between children.
If I was a better podcaster, I would have looked it up. But I think this is the same little Gus as before.
And I just can't trust it. I'm just like, they've recast it too many times.
They really have. I don't even know what Lil Gus we're on anymore.
Yeah. I wonder if that'll be like a trivia fact I can find or something.
Oh, there we go.
But baby Sean is in a hole digging.
And Gus is confused why he's digging because Henry clearly told them that they were not allowed to dig in the backyard.
Sean says, when we find oil, that'll show him.
All the great oil wildcats have that ability. The ability to feel the oil in their bones.
And then he starts naming people.
One of them was Clampett.
And one of them was Wesson, as in the vegetable oil?
So I thought one of them was Crisco. So I think that would make sense.
Crisco.
I think he said me, Getty, Clampett, Crisco, and Wesson.
I didn't write them all down. I'm going to trust you. Little Gus just shrugs, jumps in, and starts digging.
They're excited. They're going to be rich, but Henry is home.
Also, Sean's dream is for him to get rich and for Gus to work for him, which, not a good look, baby Sean. Not a good look. Henry is home, and he kind of stops as though he hears a noise.
He does, because there is liquid shooting from the ground.
But it's not oil. It's just water.
And
his response confuses me.
Sean says, "Hey, Dad, we're prospecting for oil. How was your day?"
Henry says, "There's duct tape and grass seed in the garage. I don't care if you have to work all night. This yard needs to look exactly like it did yesterday." To which I say, "Sir, you need to call the water company."
So I'm not here to badmouth the university that I used to work for, but it was not uncommon for them to fix water pipes with, towels and duct tape. As in, you wrap a towel around it, and then you duct tape it. And then that's how they would fix water leaks. And when I say, I don't mean, Band-Aid. I mean, they would be like that for, a year at a time. So I think Henry's assumption was that they would be able to duct tape the pipe back together. Not a good idea. I agree with you. Call the water company.
Not a good idea.
Shauna and Gus stand in the mud, crying.
Back to the present, we are on an oil rig at night in the pouring rain. It's all chaos and shouting, and it's giving me Jurassic Park vibes.
I feel
like
that.
OG Jurassic Park cold open.
Because of all the rain for sure. This one guy is screaming at everybody, and he seems to be very concerned specifically about safety. There's this other guy who's standing over the rail, and he's trying to tie his shoe. And I called him Old Yeller. Runs over and pushes him out of the way. And he's like, hey, you're in no man's land. Or he never said no man's land. Hey, you're not allowed to be there. Get out of the way.
I think he did say no man's land.
Okay.
He goes, hey, get out of no man's land. And I called him a foreman at this point because he's just sort of shouting orders at everybody. We find out later he's not a foreman, but oh well. And so he goes, because the guy's not listening to him, he goes and he pushes the guy away. And he's like, you should know better, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I won't write you up. And as he's yelling at this retreating person who we never see, a crane jib? I don't know the words.
That's such a better word than what I used, which was ball hook thingy.
Well, that's what it is, and I just don't know what it's
Yeah.
called, so I'm guessing. And it comes swinging out of nowhere and smacks him hard, and he goes overboard. We find out later this man dead.
Bum, bum, bum.
We get some great Santa Barbara B-roll
Yes.
of boats and whatnot.
And then we end up on a Santa Barbara Police Department boat that seems to be going out towards what we'll assume is the rig and later find out is. It's Chief Vic, Sean, and Gus. And Gus is so upset because he's missing a symposium on fungus.
Sean guesses, like, that's the fungus one, right?
Don't play, Sean. You know that's my bread and butter.
You know what my bread and butter is? Bread and butter. Fungus never came into the equation. Not once.
Vic's like, time is of the essence. No, Sean's like, time is of the essence. We're headed out, and it could be anything. Crab on crab violence, a gang war between the mermen and the shark people. Maybe she just wants to take us wild orca hunting.
Chief finally says, all right, here's the deer. We're about 5 minutes out. This is about the death of Safety Inspector Butch Hicks, who died from a fall on the rig last night and washed ashore in Santa Barbara. He was working on the Bamford No. 7 rig. Sean is like, awesome! I've always wanted to go on a rig. And Gus says, why are we here, Chief? It sounds like an accident.
Well, that's exactly what the Coast Guard thinks. They absolutely think it's an accident, but Chief Vic does not. There was a phone call that came in last week, and they said that something highly unsafe was going on at the rig, and the tipper was risking everything to contact them.
And then Sean goes, ooh, a harbor seal. And Gus goes, what? And then Sean goes, did you tell this information about the tip to the Coast Guard?
Absolutely not. Also, the head detective Lassiter and junior head detective, I'm going to call her junior head detective, Juliet, aren't there because this isn't really an official situation.
Also, no more questions or I will turn this boat around. Is that what you want, Mr. Spencer?
Vic is on fire in this episode, and I love it.
Oh, it gets so much better so quickly because in the next moment we hear a horn and sirens and the U.S. Coast Guard is literally up their butts. Well, okay, maybe not literally.
We meet the commander of that particular Coast Guard ship named Barbara Dunlap, played by none other than one Jane Lynch.
Okay. Miss Jane Lynch is such a legend. She has been working forever. She's doing a ton of voice work right now, but you might know her from Glee. You might know her from A Mighty Wind or Best in Show, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Only Murders in the Building, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, the list goes on.
I guess I have more to say about her later, but we'll have to get to that part a little bit later on in this particular scene. So, Babs, I call her Babs. Babs knows that Chief Vic is headed out for the rig case. And
they have a standoff for jurisdiction.
Right, because the southeast corner of the rig is within 3 miles of land, making it technically land territory, but Babs is like, no, this is mine. This is my place.
And
Because it's
she
not the
says,
Southeast corner.
basically, you do not want this fight. And they both do this, like, head shake, hair flick thing that I noticed.
It ends with one of them, I'm not sure which one, looking at the other and going, "You will lose."
Sean breaks in and he introduces himself as an amateur dolphinologist, big fan of the briny and lemon squares. He also explains that they got a tip, and can they please just get on the rig for an eensy-teensy moment? Please and thank you.
Babs is super mad that this tip was never shared with the Coast Guard, and Chief Vic's response is, "Like you ever shared anything with me." I wrote, "Make me slap fight."
Okay, no, so first there's poking. Commander says something and then pokes Chief. Chief says, "You can't intimidate me," and pokes her back. Commander says, "You've got 10 seconds to get out of my water," and smacks the Chief on the shoulder. And Chief says, "I'd like to see you make me," and smacks her back. Then they're nose-to-nose fighting and, like, teasing each other because their noses are touching.
Gus said, "Can you do that to a commander?"
Sean says, "You can if she's your sister." And we just get a look.
Followed by Babs saying, "What if I really do touch your nose?"
And then credits.
So I love Jane Lynch as Chief Vic's sister. I mean, they play that sibling rivalry so well.
I think their chemistry is just, like, off the charts because, okay, in the wrong hands, that could have played, even for a second, as, like, some kind of sexual tension, which I would have probably been into. But between them, I was always like, oh, these sisters are about to throw down.
Yeah.
Like, that was the entire vibe.
After the credit, we are back at the Santa Barbara Police Department, and we find out that the judge has ruled in favor of the Coast Guard as far as jurisdiction is concerned. And then we have
when she's doing nice voice on the phone, Vic has the craziest smile on her face.
We have this big discussion about, like, was it a homicide or was it an accident? But Gus is just surprised that Chief Vic has never once mentioned before that she had a sister.
And Lassie is shocked because she's such an alluring sister, too.
Creepy.
Jules says, "Ooh, listen to this." She got the commander's bio off the Coast Guard website, and Sean steals it, but Jules steals it back and then reads all about Barbara Dunlap.
Lassiter responds with, "Impressive and intoxicating."
All that power in one
woman.
I was into it. Sean says, "Creepier."
Babs has denied the entire police department entrance to the rig, but Chief Vic is like, "I have a psychic and he's gonna find the tipster."
And the commander says, "Well, it's my investigation, so your psychic is my psychic."
Lassiter kind of ended this scene with him saying, "Commander, I had no idea that Chief had such an accomplished younger sister."
And through her teeth, Chief says, "She's older."
Quickly exit Lassiter and Juliet. Sean agrees to go with Babs to the rig, but wants the okay from Chief Vic.
Babs tells him to be at the
pier
to leave in an hour. Don't be late. And Sean takes a moment with Chief.
Chief says, "Fine, do what you want. I'm done."
She kind of says, "You don't owe me an explanation. Do what you've got to do," and, like, shuts her office door. Sean says to Gus, "Does she seem a bit peeved?"
Which is a beautiful cut into the next scene that is at the pier that immediately begins with Gus saying that he believes they are no longer in Chief Vic's good graces.
Yeah, he accuses Sean of burning bridges with the chief. And we did get some more really good boat footage here, and the walk and talk has Gus in very subtle blue stripes and Sean in interesting purple plaid.
We do get a Gus don't be, which is, "Gus, don't be a myopic chihuahua."
I had to look that up. It means nearsighted chihuahua.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know. So Sean says, "Don't worry, I have a foolproof plan to both solve this case and give Chief all the credit." And Gus wants to know what that plan is.
I don't really have anything better than the phrase foolproof plan.
But then we get a little, I always call it a psych out because he zeroes in. He sees the dive shop where the payphone that the tipster called from is, and he notices a security camera out there. So, pin.
Gus gives Sean the rundown on oil rigs, just kind of in general.
Sean literally says, okay, research time. Gus, give me what you've got. Because apparently doing research just means asking Gus in this show.
There's something that's going on here that's very pop culture, but I didn't write it down. But I got Love Brokers, Night Shift.
Oh.
You got the Fawn playing against his type.
So Gus gives us the rundown. He says, all right, so typically an oil rig is placed on a continental shelf, and you have 30 wellheads, 24-hour drilling, 2 different crews to cover the day shift and the night shift, at which point Sean goes, Love Brokers, Night Shift. Like, it's a full reference. And then he goes, oh, come on, Gus, because Gus is not excited enough about this. And he's like, you've got the Fawns playing against type. And before he can say more, Gus kind of goes, where's this boat supposed to be that we're getting on? So Sean kind of, what's up's the Coast Guard guy waiting on the dock, and he goes, hey, where are we launching from? We're supposed to be here for the boat. And the guy goes, are you Sean Spencer? We get an affirmative, and then he pulls a note out of his cap. I don't know what year this is supposed to be. That's such a funny thing to do. You have pockets, sir. The note is from the commander, and it basically just says, do nothing, go nowhere. That's what I want from you. So she's kind of snowballing the homicide side of the investigation because she doesn't believe it's a thing, and she just wanted to make the chief mad at the boys. She's a really antagonist, this one. Gus is put out, and Sean says, we are only pawns in this sibling feud.
I'm nobody's pawn, Sean. I'm a queen.
And then they just look at each other.
Sean refuses to quit. This is not for them. This is for Chief. They need to get on that rig somehow. And they turn around and quickly see, what would you know it? A rich daddy.
I didn't even write that down.
I did.
Oh my god.
I called him
We hear someone say, Mr. Bamford, have a wonderful trip.
Sean says, I have an idea, but we'll need cool names. So I called him Rich Daddy until we got his name.
I called him Oil Guy, and I wish I'd called him Rich Daddy.
We find out later his name is Billy Joe, and so for the rest of my notes, I call him BJ.
Yeah, no, same. So, okay, Oil Guy, Rich Daddy, BJ is played by Barry Corbin, and he is another famous character actor. I mean, this guy was even on Dallas, which was about rich people in Texas, and I don't know if it was about cattle or if it was about oil.
It was about
rich
oil.
People in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. So another, reference in a reference. He was also in Northern Exposure for I think most of that show. He also showed up in Murder, She Wrote and Columbo.
What?
Yeah, he played the sheriff in Dallas, by the way. And then, I counted it up. So Jane Lynch on IMDb has 231 credits,
and
gosh. Mr. Barry Corbin has 222 as of today.
That's amazing.
I know. These people are crazy. I mean, character actors can get it.
Sean introduces himself to Rich Daddy because they kind of got on the boat with them. And Sean said, please call me T-Bone. Oh, I'm sorry, not to Rich Daddy, but to the young hottie, his daughter, who I do in fact call young hottie in my notes until I figure out her name.
Her name is Ashley,
yeah.
Which we learn way too far down the road. She doesn't have a name for so long.
I call her young hottie not to be sexist, but because of the way that Sean looked at her the very first time he saw her.
Oh, it was a very male-gazy camera pan, but, it was just her walking and smiling. It wasn't, panning up and down her body, but it was just ooh, pretty girl.
They tell young hottie that they're investors. She thinks they're full of crap, which you know what they are, and she leaves because Rich Daddy is being super sexist.
Yeah, he literally goes, why don't you go make us some cocktails while the men talk?
Gross.
But I think he's playing this up because Sean goes, BJ, it's the 21st century, and women have won the right to be treated equally. Or does he earn the right? Either way, he should just say they have the right. So, excuse you. Um, but he goes, even a blind man could see that y'all ain't investors. I only brought you on this boat to see what y'all up to.
They admit that they are in fact working for the Coast Guard, and Sean says, I'm Sean Spencer. This is my partner, Chesterfield McMillan, and wife.
He says we're actually investigating the death of Hicks because we're not sure it was an accident. And BJ's like, you know what? I don't like being lied to, but if Hicks's accident wasn't an accident, I want to know as much as you.
That is convenient because at the Santa Barbara Police Department, we find Lassiter and Juliet working on a missing persons case of one Dr. Christopher Renault.
A professor from the university. Okay, is this the second professor from the University of Santa Barbara? Or third? He's the third professor from the University of Santa Barbara to have something happen to him.
So the Disco is not dead, it was murdered episode for sure. What was the other one?
The archaeology one.
Oh, you're 100% right.
That university is a death sentence for professors. People go there to be killed.
Oh, last scene, 3 p.m. lecture on Thursday. That's where we were.
That's where we were. And Lassiter says, yeah, okay, sounds good. Listen, I was thinking about asking out the commander.
Bad idea.
Why?
Julia is really trying to be nice about it, and she's just like, she is your chief's sister, and your chief doesn't really like her, and then there's this whole, don't poop where you eat thing going on.
And then Lassiter just goes on and on about Barbara. At one point he says, she's got that great sturdy build. I feel seen. I'm not gonna lie.
Juliet's like, that's fine. I'm gonna focus on the case. Bye.
We're back on the rig, and we've got a walk and talk with the boys and BJ. And Sean is like, the tip was about something very unsafe happening. And BJ's like, I have no idea what that could have been about. My whole reputation is built on safety. You can ask anyone. I make sure of it, and Hicks made sure of it for me.
They get to Hicks's office, and right across from his office there is a geology lab, and Sean can't open the door. It seems like maybe the door is broken.
So here's the thing. Nobody walking around on this rig that isn't working on this rig is wearing a hard hat. I'm going to go on a limb and say, just like a construction site, you're not allowed to do that no matter if you're not there in a working capacity or not.
That is a very, very good point.
I have a couple of little asides like that. Literally no hard hats on anyone not wearing neon.
Well, there's a couple of people, in the cafeteria scene that are still wearing their hard hats while they're eating, so that is an interesting inconsistency.
BJ, says the geology lab is for some fancy rock doctor that his daughter talked him into hiring because he apparently drilled a few dry holes and now she thinks he's lost his touch, but he doesn't need anyone to tell him where to drill.
Sean sees a map right there on the wall, and he kind of zones in on the Bamford rig number 7 on the map.
They go into the safety office. BJ leaves him there. He's like, let me know if you need anything. I'll be topside. Sean says, we'll be here, bottoms up. Okay.
Gus wants to know what they're supposed to be looking for in the office.
Well, Sean's kind of hungry, so a Kit Kat would be nice.
They think that the tipster might have come to to Hicks first, and so there might be some evidence of that somewhere around the office. But all that Gus found was a bunch of violation reports.
This guy was a real stickler.
Sean sees a seashell that looks a lot like the dive center seashell that was right on the pier where the tipster's phone call came from. It's somewhere in the office.
Yeah, it's like on a tank behind a coat. And then Barbara arrives.
Sean has a full-on psych out, and he goes, I know who the tipster is. He's a man in scuba gear with a salamander and a wetsuit. Or with a salamander in his wetsuit. I know exactly where the tipster is. He's in the morgue.
That's right, Hicks. Hicks was our tipster, and now he's dead. And then there's like a commercial break, but then we come back and he goes, but wait, there's more. He's like, I'm seeing a camera. There's a camera. If you check it, the footage from Friday, it'll confirm what I'm saying, basically. Barbara's having none of this.
They go outside, and she wants them off the boat within the hour.
Again, no hard hats on anyone. I think the Coast Guard should know better.
Sean's like, we've got an hour, we're gonna find a solution.
And also, she's bossy, and Gus says, she scares me. Sean wants to talk to, like, basically everyone from the night shift. Gus wants to talk about where they're going to eat when they get back to shore because all that Kit Kat talk made him hungry.
And then immediately starts to smell something. And it smells like meatloaf.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's fresh apple cobbler.
Here comes the young hottie, who, at this point, we finally find out her name is Ashley, and they ask her if she would like to have lunch with them, and then maybe take them on a tour.
Sean asks very badly in a very weird southern drawl, Miss Ashley. And she doesn't understand a damn word out of his mouth. So then Gus kind of has to be the translator there, and she's like, no, I'm busy. The mess hall is 2 floors down. Bye.
She said something like, unbeknownst to my father, I'm not the cruise director around here.
Oh, yeah, no matter how my father treats me.
There are line workers that they're talking to. There's a line worker who is serving the food, and he's just straight up glad that Hicks is dead. There is another worker who had a dream that she killed him with a knife. And then a third who said he never should have gone into no man's land. He should have known better as the safety inspector.
Oh, I was going to say, Gus said that he's the only guy who's shown any sort of, like, remorse about the guy being dead.
Oh, I don't mean that. If it was me, I would have used a gun.
As he's, like, putting every condiment on every piece of food on his plate, which is heaping, by the way.
Moral of the story, lots of suspects, not great food. And Sean's like, we gotta see this guy's house. But first, jammies, nap, juice, and then maybe we'll call Chief Vic.
So we're back at SBPD, and Jules is on the phone. Sean and Gus show up. They ask where the chief is. She's in the bathroom. They do a lot of chit-chat about the numerals on the bathroom and how long she'll be.
At one point they say tinkle. Oh, not until.
Yeah, Chief shows up. And then Gus says,
tinkle. They ask for her help, but she does not want to give in because she's still angry that they went with Babs.
Yeah, so they get into her office, and Sean says, first of all, there's a conspiracy to murder this guy. Second of all, I believe that Craig T. Nelson is going to donate the rest of his remaining hair to the Smithsonian? Okay, burn.
Is Craig T. Nelson bald?
He's balding. He has, like, a very far back hairline. He's from everything. Is he from Coach?
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly who that is. Thank you. Gus is like, okay, stop this nonsense. And he asks for access to where Hicks lives.
Chief reminds him that she can't help, even if she wants to, because she doesn't have jurisdiction here.
Gus said, just so you know, it was Sean's idea to go with your sister.
Sean has asked to speak to Chief privately, and that is Gus's parting shot, which, dude, rude.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Sean's like, I only took this case to help you, Chief. I want to find evidence to get this back on land, and then we'll get it back within your jurisdiction.
And then he says, look, I know all about having an older sister and the rivalry. And she's like, Mr. Spencer, I had no idea you had a sister.
I didn't, but I did watch a lot of reruns of the Brady Bunch.
He says, I know it's none of my business, but how did this whole feud thing start?
It wasn't anything specific. They actually used to be very close, but over the years, they just spent years and years trying to outdo one another, and it caused a rift.
Sean says he can relate. Not personally, but, as Jan Brady.
I love that Sean and Chief Vic moment. It's so genuine. It's just so great.
It is good. And she's just like, yeah, sure, you can go divine what you're going to divine and what you've got to do. She fully approves, but she's not saying it.
Which is good because they end up breaking into his house through a window.
Okay, that window was unlocked, so it wasn't breaking in.
But the very first shot we see as we're watching them climb through a window is a pineapple on pizza.
Okay, there's lots of stuff on that pizza. I'm guessing that's also Canadian bacon and it's like some Hawaiian pizza, but there's also like pieces of whatever crunchy junk food snack mix was laying around this guy's house.
Which Sean quickly notes by saying, it looks like Hicks' obsession with safety did not extend to his colon.
And again, I just want to point out here, when our boys go to a crime scene early and they're later going to bring other people back, could they maybe wear gloves sometimes? Like, they could be implicated into so many crimes just because they're sloppy.
Which they are. I mean, yeah. Well, they're looking for something that shows that Butch was maybe being threatened. They ask for MASH notes. Sean says, look for MASH notes.
And Gus says, you know those are complimentary, right?
I have a lot of explaining to do.
I have someone I need to apologize to.
Gus is like, I'm going to start this computer. Okay, I'm going to use my master lock-breaking skills, and I'm going to hack the code and get in.
Oh, he does his full, like primping prep to get into it.
At least he didn't do, like, the Michael Jackson, what he used to do. There it is. Sean said, try Panther 21.
And he does, and it's right. And he goes, you got all that just from looking around at stuff in this room?
Yes, but it was also written on the bottom of this computer, and I saw it in the reflection of the CD case.
Okay, here's the thing. That was a perfect opportunity for him to do his weird-sounding yes, which we haven't heard since Tim Curry was actually in the show.
Really? I thought we got one. Oh, no, we got a tattoo yes.
Gus finds emails from someone named Bishop77.
Why are you ignoring me? If you don't do something about this, I'll go to the authorities.
Sean says, we're looking for someone who is Catholic or super into chess. And I think this person is the tipster, and it wasn't Hicks after all.
No worries. Gus knows how to trace an email to find a name. But then he smells something, and he said, Sean, what did I tell you about eating onions during lunch?
Okay. I'm siding with Gus on this, because even if no one else feels this way about me, if I eat onions with lunch, I swear I smell and feel like onions for the rest of the day. Can't do it, especially raw ones, but onions in general.
Sean's like, that's not me, but Gus starts to smell the smell more and starts smelling around the house until he gets to a closet.
Meanwhile, Sean is smelling his own breath and is being like, that's good, that's really good. I smell amazing.
They open the door and out comes a dead guy.
Is it always a dead guy?
And why does he smell like onions?
We get another little commercial break moment. And then apparently the boys have called because we're getting like sirens and cars from both directions. And now it's a standoff because both Chief and the commander have arrived.
Interestingly enough, Sean is pretty sure that dead guy is Lassiter and Juliet's missing person.
Professor Renault.
Right. They want to know if he went in without a warrant.
A warrant? Suddenly I need a warrant? You know, I divine things. I feel them. I must be here.
It happens here. At his head, and sometimes here at his heart, and in extreme cases, here at the super sniffer.
Gus's face. So we find out that the connection is that Professor Renault was the consulting geologist for Bamford Explorations.
Lassie goes inside, he sees the person, he comes back out, and he said, Spencer's right. Not words I enjoy saying.
And Sean says, he has a full psych out here, and he's like, there was a fight, and Renault was mad that Hicks wasn't doing anything about his tip, and maybe he was covering for someone, and in a fit during their argument, Hicks grabbed a weapon and...
Stop! Hammer time!
Killed Renault in his own house.
Chief Vic quickly assigns Lassiter and Juliet to the case. And Lassiter thinks that this actually might help his chances with Babs because she'll be seeing him in a better light now.
Yeah, Chief chose him over Spencer, and now he's working on this homicide. And then promptly the commander fires Sean and Gus. So everyone's ignoring them suddenly.
Sean's like, there is something going on here. I don't understand why Hicks was in no man's land, and I don't understand why the geologist's lab is locked.
We've got to get back on that rig.
They have a plan. It is Henry's fishing boat.
I'm glad Henry showed up here, but we see very little of him.
He is very confused why they want to go out.
Also,
They
he
say,
looks very good in that t-shirt. I'm not gonna lie, Corbin Brinson's working at this episode.
They're like, oh, they said the fish are biting. And Henry said, oh, is it the pike?
That's it. That's what they said.
Pike are freshwater fish, and this, if you can't tell, is the ocean. I am not taking you out to the rig. Not only do I refuse to do so, but my boat won't even go out that far.
But I've got a friend over there who could maybe help you out. Captain, Dave.
Captain Dale?
Dale. I can't read my handwriting.
That's fair.
Captain Dale, who looks scary, like something from Jaws.
He's literally, like, chumming the water. And then Henry
They're
said,
at
well...
the marina. Was he just disposing of, like, his bad cuts?
Of his fish guts, yeah.
Ugh.
They're gonna have to do, quote, chores in order to be able to go out with him.
I am so glad we skip over more of Captain Dale. So, for a moment, we're at the SBPD. And Barbara goes into Chief's office. And she's very, maybe not contrite, but it's very, like, peace-offering meeting time. She says, listen, I want to apologize. I looked into what Sean said. The crane was tampered with, which means the accident wasn't an accident. Well, the crane had the thing on it. Like...
Oh, the ball hook thing?
Yeah, I don't know what that's called.
Okay.
But
a tackle, I think is what the guy at the dining hall says.
Oh, okay.
He said a tackle. All these are better words than our words, but okay. Hicks was murdered and I was wrong.
For lack of something better to say and like no real way to respond to that niceness, Karen sort of hands over a file and says, well, Sean was also right again because Hicks did kill Renaud. His weapon had his fingerprints all over it. And it's a very, very cute sister moment.
Yes, I called it sibling love instead of sibling rivalry here.
Yeah, so they're kind of like, so he was right for both of us. We've confirmed it. Could we maybe move forward together? After you, says Chief.
Back at the rig, Gus is super upset because he still smells like fish and he hates fish.
That's not true. You love my Cajun crawfish hush puppies.
That's mostly cornmeal and you know that.
They get into the geology lab using Gus's credit card on the door and it...
Which then gets ruined.
Fully ruined.
Sean pulls out his handy-dandy Swiss Army knife. Again, big old pin in the fact that he has his handy-dandy Swiss Army knife. Also, not sure how a civilian's allowed to take a knife onto an oil rig, but that's a different conversation for another day. He pulls out his handy-dandy Swiss Army knife, and he breaks into a locked cabinet where he finds an overlay map.
Yeah, it's
an overlay map, excuse me.
It's a hand-drawn map of the ocean where they are and the rig where they are. And he says, there's a map on the wall out there. Why would he hand draw another one? Gus, will you go out in the hallway and grab it?
Gus grabs it. They go, they do the overlay, and he goes, oh my gosh, I think BJ is... Oh, wait. What they see is that they are drilling directly over a fault line.
Not where they said they're drilling. So the map in the hallway was a fabrication of their placement, and Renaud had the actual coordinates, which places them directly on the fault line.
Enter Ashley, and Sean hits on Ashley and then tells her that her rich daddy is drilling on a fault line, and he thinks that rich daddy has killed Hicks to cover his tracks.
Her nervous smiling shows her very perfect teeth, but oh my god, she has so many teeth when she smiles. Like, it's terrifying.
And then she goes, I can't believe that he would do that. I feel sick.
And then she's like, we can go to the comm room and radio for help and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, the light is on the other wall. I'll turn on the radio. And then she pulls out a gun and locks them in a room with toxic fumes.
Sean said, I may have made a mistake, but she does fill out those genes quite nicely.
my god. Earlier, he literally said to her, damn, girl, you are lean. What do you, like, spin?
Gus is freaking out about the fumes.
Okay, so up on deck, Ashley is...
Oh, we get a pop culture reference. Hold on. Gus said, "Did you not see Silkworm, Sean? They're going to make me take a shower where they scrub my skin off." I believe Silkworm was a movie.
I believe so too, but I never watched it. It sounds like something I never want to watch.
Yeah. Nope. There's a reason I said believe. If that's not a pop culture reference, please let us know by emailing us at totheblueberrypodcast@gmail.com. And yes, I just smoothly put that in.
So, Ashley's on the deck, and she's sort of hurrying away, and both the commander and the chief confront her. And they say, we need to talk to you. And she's like, I'm really busy, can't it wait? And everyone's shouting because it's windy. And they're like, actually, no, because we talked to the helo captain or pilot or whatever, and he told us that on the night of the accident, quote unquote, there was an extra passenger on his helicopter that wasn't on the manifest. And that passenger was you.
Ashley said, sometimes I like to make surprise visits.
But then Lassiter clocks her gun. I almost said Glock because it was going to rhyme and I'm stupid. He clocks her weapon and he is like shouting the alarm that she has a gun. And then she runs away and they're all drawing their weapons and chasing after her.
Sean hears the guns fired. He wants to go help. And Gus said, rule number 1, we don't run towards gunfire.
I'm sorry, is gunfire not the most terrible idea on an oil rig ever?
That's what I was thinking.
It's like gunfire on an oil rig or an airplane are like the worst things I can think of.
So, I mean, I know I got on my high horse about him bringing a Swiss Army knife on, but like, how would she get a gun on?
I'm not sure that they're checking people, because if you're authorized to be there, or they're letting you up in the first place, I don't know.
I mean, they're not wearing hard hats, so maybe safety is not their number 1 priority.
So Lassiter and Jules open up the closet door, but then they tell Sean and Gus to stay put.
Nope. No, thank you. Sean wants to follow them.
Also, he has a serious issue with the expression stay put. It's just a disaster of an expression.
We are in, I called it a steam
That's
room.
because that's what it always is. It's a vague room. We don't know where we are. There are pipes. There are gauges. There is steam.
Maybe an engine room, I don't know. But there's a whole lot more sibling rivalry coming along where one of them says that she's like 50 feet away and the other one's like, no, it's 35 feet. And then we get a, why do you always have to correct me? And then a whole lot more gunfire.
Do I correct? I didn't mean to correct. Blah, blah, blah.
Gunfire. Enter Sean and Gus.
I wrote standoff with guns, and I just wrote danger, and then I wrote Gus is a table.
Gus, what are you doing? Sean, I have a plan. It's called Gus is a table. More gunfire. More steam going everywhere. It's our signature prank in the 7th grade. I know you remember this. Gus is a table.
You mean you want me to go behind her, be a table, so that you can go up to her and push her over me and make her fall?
That's the plan. Sean's gonna distract her so Gus can get in place.
So Sean starts to distract her, and she's like, Sean, what are you doing here? Don't make me shoot you.
Sean said, I'm putting my cards on the table.
She's like, what's going on? Nothing's going on. We get a little bit of dad relating here. He's like, look, I know what it's like. Nothing to be good enough for you to never live up to their expectations. And you're so smart and educated and you have such good ideas, but you get no respect and he talks down to you and blah, blah, blah.
And all you wanted to do was save the failing business, but you realized you had to kill him to save it.
Oh, kill, Hicks.
Sean's like, I get it. I'm there with you. How about you just give me the gun?
Also, at one point he yells, Gus is a table, and Gus yells back, Gus is a statue.
Sean gets the gun from her and goes in for the hug, and Lassie tackles her.
Excessive force. I'm filing a report on Lassiter.
Followed by, did Barbara see that?
The eye roll from Juliet.
I agree, though. They've already got the gun from her. She's, like, in a calm state. It wasn't worth tackling.
And Sean says, with no help from my table.
And then Lassiter winks at Babs.
So, last scene, we're at the SBPD. And the boys have a gift basket for Chief.
As an apology, And Chief is like, you guys don't owe me that. I am just happy to have my sister back.
And then Barbara comes.
And the boys are screaming kind of cliche things or kind of trite things like, welcome aboard, and there she blows.
And Barb says, all right, I've about had it with the cute mugging. It's starting to get on my nerves.
And Gus responds, what are you, Entertainment Weekly? I got the fun fact here, Kay.
Okay, bring it.
Okay, so the note said from Amazon, this is not an Alexis note, the note from Amazon said, this is a not-so-subtle dig at Entertainment Weekly, a magazine regularly covering the arts and popular culture. The magazine gave, several poor reviews and has repeatedly accused star James Rade Rodriguez for, quote, mugging for the camera.
Okay, maybe he mugs for the camera, but he's so damn good at it, and it fits the character.
Preach.
He's mugging for the world,
yes,
EW.
It's perfect. If we had t-shirts for our podcast, that is what one of them would say. He's mugging for the world, EW.
Oh my god, we should make that t-shirt.
Chief Vic and Babs are gonna go to lunch, and Babs is like, let me know what you think. I'm thinking about asking Lassiter out.
Chief is kind of like, oh boy. And the boys just look away and start going through the gift basket.
Chief Vic says, you don't want to go there. Trust me.
He's tightly wound, and I am doing you a favor.
You'd be far better off pursuing someone else. I'm doing you a favor. And Sean and Gus continue to look through their gift bag and literally start to eat the food out of the basket that they were gifting to Chief Vic.
I mean, does she look like she eats?
Babs goes, I see what this is. You want him for yourself.
I am married, and even if I wasn't, Carlton? Oh, no.
Gus is eating cookies out of a tin. Sean reaches for a cookie. Gus smacks his hand. Babs out.
And so the fight continues.
Babs exits, looks directly at Lassiter, and says, you, me, lunch.
Aye, aye.
The sibling rivalry is back on, and Chief Vic is going to so win this time.
And the boys continue their fight over the cookies, with Sean getting slapped repeatedly, and then Gus finally letting him reach in for a cookie.
No. Sean reaches, Gus smacks his hand, and Sean says, you have a problem.
But then he gets a cookie. I saw it.
Does he?
I am 1,000% sure he finally reaches back in for a cookie.
Okay, it's possible that I stopped watching there because the dialogue was over, if I'm being honest.
Oh my god. I'm gonna rewatch that moment, I swear.
The guest stars this episode, Kay.
The guest stars.
They were perfect.
Oh my god, they were amazing. But, I mean, Barry disappeared halfway through the episode. It was a long episode.
And, I mean, we did only get, a hot second of Henry, but we got a lot of Chief Vic, which made me very happy.
Yeah, it is very good to see her. And she and Jane Lynch played that perfectly.
It was perfect. I couldn't think of a better person to play her sister. Because, I mean, Jane Lynch does that rivalry thing so well anyway. And then they're both these, tall, pretty blondes. They both have very kind of, strong personalities. They're perfect sisters.
And I did not say, but when we first see Vic, she looks very intense. But when she finally starts talking to the boys and we get our little bit of briefing about what she's actually got them on the boat for, I was like, Chief is looking snatched. That haircut is working. She's wearing this little vest. She is, boat chic. And I forgot to say.
Yeah, Chief Vic does look really good in this episode, but I also am partial to her hair as it gets longer and longer and longer. I just like it as it continues to grow out. I don't know why, but right now she's in this perfect middle state that I just adore.
Oh yeah, it's a very choppy bob thing, but it's fun. It's working. All right, I'm in the scene. I do want to double check this before we leave. I love the gasp when she walks away with Lassiter, just weirdly to spite Chief.
I guess this kind of works because it wasn't too many episodes ago where Juliet was trying to find Lassiter a date.
Right. And she was not supportive of this one, but I mean, for good reason. They
Right.
look volatile already.
Yeah. They're like angry tension. They're like angry sexual tension between them is like gonna be really, really hot for like a second, and then it's gonna get real bad.
All right, so I have confirmation. After the "you have a problem," we get another reach and another smack, and then a look, and then Sean reaches one more time, and he gets a cookie out, and Gus just stares blankly while he chews his own cookie. So, our boys get their cookies in Chief's office.
I love that. Although they're not their cookies, they're Chief's cookies.
Again, does she look like she eats cookies?
No, I love cookies.
Well, same. And we I mean, you can tell we love cookies because
Yeah.
we're big, not blonde and beautiful.
What did sturdy women?
That great sturdy build?
We have great sturdy builds.
I'm pretty sure-footed. Oh.
Well, I am Alexis. That's actually sort of sweet. Don't tell anyone I use that word.
And I'm Kaylee. That Barbara's a real snap pea, isn't she?
And this has been
To the Blueberry! Psych out.